Hey YouTube, Sam here. Well, we're building this multi-purpose, 39-inch cabinet here, and I've already built one. Made a couple mistakes on it, so I thought for the next one I'll go ahead and show you some of the mistakes I made. And it was actually very easy to put together. There's just a couple things I flipped around, which really aren't any that very big deals. So let's get to it. There's Spencer, in case you heard the cat. Figure people on YouTube like cats. Why not? Yeah, sorry about the light. I'm filming in my house, and right here there's not a whole lot of light. But this is where I pulled all the bags out and kind of separate my hardware. That's the way I like doing it. Quite honestly, I never ever in putting one of these together I've actually counted every little bit and piece, and I've never yet had a problem with that. I'm sure it'll bite me in the butt at some point in time. But first of all, I do go through instructions, and I gotta say these instructions are excellent for people who like looking at pictures like me. A couple little words at the top in several different languages, and a really good set of pictures of where you need to put things. So I gotta say, this is I don't know if I said it before, this is from Lowe's. It's the 39-inch multi-purpose cabinet. There's the number there, probably, if you want to get one. So a couple things. I had plenty of hardware from last one, but I did have two things right out of the box that were bent. One of these screws, these are just for hooking it into your wall, so it's not a big deal. I have plenty of those. And one of these was bent. So go through these and make sure none of them are bent, because that caused me a severe problem with my other one. And I will say, you know, it's a pretty good cabinet in there, but you know, it's particle board with a laminate on top. It's not the sturdiest thing in the world. Once it's put together, it's fairly okay, but I did have a couple problems, and I'll talk about that later. One thing I will say, this whole thing came in a big giant box, and I had them load it for me at Lowe's. You're going to want to definitely get a couple guys to help you handle this, because I don't care how strong you are, you probably are not going to lift this box by yourself. There was a lot of weight. It doesn't look like much, but that is really heavy. There's another one here. And on the account of that, when we got it home, both of them, we opened up the boxes in the back of my truck, and I had my kids help me bring it in. Well, there's what I'm saying about the cheap particle board with the laminate on top. This kind of slid out of the back of my truck, hit the ground, and unfortunately chipped that off. And there's been a couple spots where just even trying to fairly gently handle this, although that wasn't gentle obviously, we have chipped off. Well, first of all, you're going to need a fairly large flat area to lay these on, preferably fairly close to where they're going to end up in an end, if you can possibly help it, because this was pretty heavy when it's all said and done. Second of all, you're going to find your what they call A side and B side, and basically it's the two outer sides. You got two longer ones, one shorter but fairly long one, the two doors, which are the same size as the long ones, and then you're going to have a couple of in the middle. I don't know, they're probably 2 feet, if even that, yeah, probably 2 feet long ones. So you're going to want to find your two longest ones that aren't the door. They're going to have on each side in the corners, only on this one corner, it's kind of a groove, or a I don't know if you'd call it a dado or what. It's probably considered a dado. It's very minor. It's just enough to where when you put the backboard on, it kind of sets down inside. You'll see that later on when I am finishing up the back end here. And then you'll start out with these, which is one side of your hinge, and these, which is what the rod that you hang your clothes on goes to. And they are going to attach first. Now you got a couple of these. They got holes, and on the back of them, they actually have nipples that correlate to the holes there. That just goes in there. In here. Oh. Hopefully you can see this. And then your hinges, which are basically going to be facing each other, because I made sure the dados were on the outside and that the closet part was on the top on both of these. And then these will go down the line. You're gonna have to look at your instructions to figure out which hole they go in. There's several holes, but I tell you right now, if you can't figure these instructions out, you really need to hire somebody else to do it, because they are extremely easy to use. Right there, right. So you got the hinge here, here, and here. You're going to want to put the one here, here, and here. And then the hinges have the screws already in them that you're going to screw them down into the holes. They're pre-drilled holes. But right there and there where the curtain rod hangers, you're going to want to get the smallest screw in the whole kit there. And you're going to want to do this by hand. Don't go grabbing your impact drill or whatever you have that's got power to it. Just use a hand screwdriver. These ones, none of the holes that these go into are pre-drilled, so you got to give it a little bit of pressure and get it started to go in, but it's not that hard. And this stuff, you know, it's cheap particle board. It'll strip really quick if you go and use your power drill on this, so I highly recommend you don't do that. I'm going to put this together and we'll go to since you probably can't really see these, there's the hinge that I'm putting on the door there. Make sure that the grooved part is facing that way on that one and that way on that one. So on this door it's sitting like that. On this door, next thing you got is these cam bolts here, and it's what these cam locks lock onto, and they are going to go several different places around the edge here. Yet again, this is where you're going to have to open up your book, figure out which holes it goes into, because there are a lot of holes. But it's real easy. If you look at the picture, it's where it goes. I almost screwed up, because this panel here, this middle panel, has holes on both sides. And what I did is I actually had it turned around, so I would have started putting stuff on the other side, which would have been wrong. So I got the instructions here, and I have the panel sitting on the ground as if I were putting the pieces right directly on it. So now I have that piece. The cutout is actually up in this corner now, and we're going to start putting pieces one of these for the hanger, because there's a hanger on both sides. There's a shorter one and a longer one, and that goes up in some holes right in the top up there. Then we got one of these cam lock bolts here. That goes somewhere along the edge over here. Then we got these, and these are plastic, what they're calling dowels, and those actually stuff up into the bottom edge and the top edge up here, right in the edge part, not on the top part, right along the edge. Now we got two shorter ones here. I don't know what they are, 2 footers or so. And you're going to want these flipped around so that you got these holes in all 4 corners, and that's where the cam locks go in. That's what these are. And you're just going to make sure that the part that the screwdriver sticks in is facing up. That is one of those things I accidentally did on a couple of the ones on the last one, is accidentally stuffed these in the wrong way, and then you got to pry them out. So make sure that the little screwdriver end is sticking up. Then again, on these 2 edges, all the edges, there's little holes that are already drilled for these dowels. Now you might have noticed me using a hammer to kind of knock them in. Just tap them, they go in real easy. You could probably shove them in with your fingers, but you want to get them about halfway in. They do seem to go further than you need them to, so there is a little mark kind of at a halfway there. That's where I tap them to. Here's one of these cam bolts, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but right here there's a little arrow, and that is something I had trouble with figuring out what direction this needed to be in the hole, and we're getting to the point where we need to do that now. So that little arrow, you want to be pointing towards the cam bolt. This isn't the cam bolt, but basically you want that to be towards that, so that it will go in, and then it locks around there and holds it in, and then it can't come out. Okay, and like I said, this is just a screw. But so you want that arrow right there, if you can see it or not. There is an arrow. You want that pointing towards the bolt, cam bolt, that's going to be going in from the piece over here. We have what they're considering side A and side C here. Now basically what you got is your hinges on the bottom and this dado in the top up here. And it doesn't seem to matter which one of the short pieces you use, they both seem to be the same. The main thing is you want, there's a couple holes here and here. You want those to be further away from this edge on this side here. So we're going to take those and we're going to start sticking them together. Now there's a dowel here and here that are going to go into a couple of holes in the sides here, and then you got your cam dills here. I've also made sure, like I showed you, that the arrows are pointing in this direction because they're pointing towards these. And that's just going to be the first one we put together. This is definitely not rocket science. Takes a little bit of finagling, but not a whole lot. If these don't go in fairly easy, you have a problem somewhere that is further in here. You got to just kind of move things around a little bit, pick it up, move it back and forth, give it a bit of a smack with your hand, and it should come together. Just as simple as that. If you have a problem, it could be one of your cam bolts is bent. I had that in my last kit. One of those I showed you earlier, one of those was bent, and it ended up busting one of these out trying to lock it because it actually kind of pivoted it and had a big gap, and I couldn't figure it out. So that was my problem. Then you're just going to take it and righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. It's the longer of the two kind of fat boards. You'll understand that if you have the kit. There's a shorter one that's this size and a longer one. This is the longer one you want here. And it goes right here. Now somehow, and I don't know exactly how, I messed this one up. I'm actually thinking my other kit might have been wrong because I don't know how I messed this up. But basically, this is the top up here towards this side, and there's a finished white piece here and an unfinished one here. So you want to make sure that that's facing down towards the bottom and that the white piece is facing forward. Well, on my other kit, I have the white piece facing forward, but I still have not figured out, for some reason, the unfinished side is facing up on it. So I think I actually might have got a kit that was wrong, because I don't know how. I would have had to have done this to make it wrong, and it is not white on this other side. So anyhow, you want to make sure that the finished pieces are facing up and back. And I don't like this because it tells you just to kind of hang this here and wait a while. And yet again, I made sure the arrows are facing that way on these toggle bolts. And righty-tighty. Middle piece. A couple things with the middle piece. You're going to want to make sure that the over here, that cutout piece is facing up. This is the back of the unit, basically, just so you know, technically. And there are two holes here that have the dowels sticking out of this piece here. That the dowels will stick up in here. And at the same time, you have this toggle nut and bolt here, arrow facing that way towards this. I'm gonna put this in first because it seems to go in fairly easy. Don't tighten that up yet. Get these dowels in the holes first. And this takes a little bit of finagling. But something I did notice before on the other one as well. There we go, we got those in. If you tighten this up, it makes this so it doesn't want to move, which common sense would say that, but common sense wasn't working for me doesn't always work. We got one of these toggles here that you need to put in. Make sure I'm right. Yep. In there's an upper hole here. Basically, make sure it's not in the same line as the toggle over here. And we'll tighten that down. So I'm sitting here and I can kind of keep this from going against me. And then you got your another one of these hanging things for the rod, hanger rod here. And it goes on this back side as well. There's a couple holes up here, that sticks in there. And you're gonna kind of have to hold this one. This one's a little tougher because it's on its side. Give it a bit of a tap and screw that in. Alright, now we got this next cross piece. It's the same as that one right there. Make sure you have the finished edge here pointing towards the top and the unfinished towards the bottom. Make sure that this finished side is pointed down, unfinished pointed towards you. From me, just make sure that those are all where they need to be. This one goes here. Not going to tighten the toggle bolt on this. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and tighten this one down. Okay, now we got this side piece here. And you got pieces in the top, pieces in the bottom, and pieces in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to actually start on the bottom because last time I started on the top, and this is where I had the problem. I tightened this up here and I ended up cracking it somewhere in here. I think it was in this piece here. So I'm just going to start putting all the pieces together, and I'm not going to tighten anything down as of yet. I'm going to start at the bottom. There are dowels and holes just like the other one, and something I didn't do. Make sure your arrows are pointed where you want your arrows pointed at those. Quite honestly, I can't see. I can't see that one, so if I have a problem, I know I got it the wrong way. I'm going to start bottom down here. That went in pretty well. Got these here. And put those just kind of in there. And I must have had that the right way because it all went well. Now everything is nice and flush in here. There's no gaps or openings. I'm going to go ahead and righty-tighty. Righty-tighty. Now you don't have to totally reef on these either. They're just like a quarter turn Zeus fastener type thing. Alright, it's all tight. Now for the next part. Even I mess up once in a while. I put this side on. I don't know why I got in such a hurry to put this side on. I did this last time too, only I did it with one piece. And what I should have done is put this piece here, across here, and this piece goes down across here. I was supposed to do that before I put this piece on. So I gotta take this off and I'll be back at you. A little bit, enough to where I can hopefully get it in here. Now I got the thicker of the top and bottom pieces. It's the same thickness as these middle ones, only it's the longest one. It takes a couple of these, I keep calling them toggle bolts, but they're cam bolts. I don't know why I keep calling them toggle, but anyhow, they are cam bolts. They're cam locks actually, a couple of the cam locks in here and a couple of the dowels, one on each side, up from those cam locks on the side here. And those just same thing. Let's make sure the arrow is pointed in the right direction. We're going to put that one in there. And get a phone call. So that one's all the way in. I'm going to go ahead and lock this one down. That one's in there. Then we're going to go across. Make sure arrows are in the right direction. And you probably won't be able to see much but the back here. And I'll put this one in here and lock it down. Grunt and groan, help my fat butt get off the floor. Okay, now we can put this side on here. So I'm going to go ahead, shove this all together. You've already seen me do that once, you don't need to see me. This is where I differ from the instructions here. From here you go on to put the back on and put it where you want and then put the doors on. I'm going to go ahead and shoot a couple of screws through here. Now these are really fine thread screws. I believe they are actually for particle board. I'm not exactly sure. I do know that they do make some. And I'm going to make sure that goes right through the middle here. I'm not totally reefing on it. You can do this by hand if you want, but I'm just kind of going until it's fairly flush. It's still sticking out a little bit, but I'm okay with that. I just think that would give this quite a bit more structural stability from racking a little bit here. You can choose to do that if you want to or not. If you choose to do it, not responsible if you screw something up. This is the bottom piece that I forgot to put in the first time here, and it comes with one of these little L bracket things here. That just sticks down there and screws in, gives you a little bit more stability to the bottom here, keeps it from racking. Yet again, I'm just kind of guesstimating middle. Wow. And there are no, let me get rid of that. There are no holes to screw it into, so you gotta just kind of make your own. Like I said, this is one of those things where they should just kind of have a couple of pre-drilled screws, or pre-drilled holes for these screws. Now I know I'm not dead on center. In fact, I'm a little that way, I can already tell right now. So if you want to measure and figure out center, go for it. Only person's gonna know this is this way is me and whoever watches this video. I usually preach, if you're gonna do it right, but this really isn't going to make or break this project. It's just to help keep this bottom piece probably from being kicked out from underneath and broken, probably more than anything. Yet again, I would highly recommend doing all this stuff by hand, just to keep from stripping this stuff out, because if you use a power tool on it, it will just keep on turning. And it comes with this folded up, looks like a piece of cardboard, and it's got a white side on it, so you got to stick that on there. Another place where having a couple people would be nice. Make sure the white part is facing down or towards the front of the cabinet, and this is where, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and kind of show you up close and personal. Alright, here's this groove. If you can see, there's kind of a edge right here, or dado, I don't know what exactly you'd call it, but there's an edge right here and it's flat here. This butts up into there and then it flushes it up. Now it's not perfect to get it right on both sides. This is going to stick out a little bit, but we are going to go ahead and put the back on here. This thing also, yeah, push this down a little bit, kind of center it side to side where it's fairly even in this gap here. And then I'm going to put a mark right here. And that's where this centerpiece right here goes down. Okay, so I'm going to do that on this side. And I'm also going to do it, make sure we're centered here where it's going to be on this side right here. Well, that kind of gives me a pretty good idea of where it's going to be. Yet again, this is one of those things. It would be nice if I had a chalk line, but since I don't have a chalk line with me, well, you know what I'm going to do? I get it now. I got this tape measure. I got this. I'm going to put this right where I want it. Okay. And these should line up pretty good. What I'm going to do is basically take this, put it right on the mark, and mark kind of where it is. Let's see here. And you don't need a bunch of them. You can choose how to do this. This will kind of get you close. Line this up, make sure it's still where you want it. And then on the top here, on each corner, I'm just going to put a nail. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and put one right in the middle here. There's Indy. Okay, so there's the little nails it comes with. They're just little nails, and it also comes with this tool right here. And basically, what it is you take and you put your nail in a spot there, and then you're going to hook it up against the edge, kind of up against the edge right there. And then you're going to drive your nail down in, and then it keeps you from poking holes where you shouldn't. Well, you can choose whether or not to use this. It's pretty easy not to, but if you don't feel capable of putting nails in the right places, use it. It'll keep you from poking holes you don't want to. I am not going to do that, and I'm also not going to show you me nailing all this up. Small door here. I'm just going to show you the one door. Basically, the other end of these hinges. And these actually don't have the screws. These screws are the small screws, kind of like the ones that you put in the rod hanger part there. And they actually do have the pre-drilled holes for these, which is nice. Just stick that in there. Snug it down. Put this one in here. And it pretty much aligns itself. Once you get it down in there, it'll line it. And just snug it down. You're not reefing on them. And I already did the other two. You don't need to see me do all three. Basically, you can see it here. You probably can't. Alright, I'm going to show you this. Right here, this slot hooks into the screw that's already on, hooked to the door here, or the closet here. Alright, here's a closer up look, and I haven't even got it, it's just hanging there. And now I got it on there. It actually, once you get it on, kind of pops on all by itself. So I gotta get this off of here. There we go. That's how good it stays on all by itself. But anyway, this just kind of pops in there, and then, oh, I can't it's hard to not do without putting my finger in the way. Pops on here, and that goes right in there. And then we'll adjust this however we need to do it. I'm just going to tighten it down. It was pretty close last time. There, that went in a lot better. So I just kind of put them all the way in until they're all the way. I'm going to start out there. I'm going to tighten these down, and if we need to do any adjustments, I'll show you how to adjust it later. So you want to kind of make sure that it's square. I really haven't looked at this too much. It's as square as it's going to get. Man, the cat wanted to lay on this thing, and it's just, I tell you, these are kind of, whatever it is, they're kind of staticky. I have to take a duster to it. Anyhow, I need to get this door over here, and basically the way these doors work, if you need more of a gap in this area, like out and in, that's where I popped it on, you pull that out or push it in if you want less of a gap. To actually move this door this way, which is what I need to do, on the inside here, get a closer look. Hopefully I don't make you sick. There's this screw right here. And when you can't see it with the door, but when you have the door closed and you push this pushes this out this way, which will also bring this whole door that way. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust those. I pretty much need it that way all the way down. It's not quite as bad at the bottom, but definitely in the middle and the top. Alright. Well, here it is, all said and done, such as it is. I will give you a little closer look inside and give you a couple of things that you'll have to do. There's a couple things about this. First of all, my house is not plumb, square, flat, anywhere. It's pretty bad when it comes to that kind of stuff. It's a pretty old house. So for that fact, I just have this sitting on the floor, and I couldn't get the doors to line up and work correctly no matter what I did. Basically, it does come with screws to mount this into your wall studs, and this would have to be put about like that and squared up, and then I would screw it into my wall studs, and then I could probably get the doors to line up better. But as you can see, it does, you know, it rocks and tilts a little bit. You know, it's not the most sturdy thing ever. That's why they give you screws to mount it into your studs. Another thing, this stuff does kind of scuff up, and there's a couple scuffs already on it that I couldn't look out with my finger. So it's one of those things, you may have to repaint it later on down the road after it gets scuffed up a little bit. And it does seem to get very, what's the word I'm trying to come up with here, staticky. The animal hair does seem to build up on it a little bit. It comes with pretty nice, what I'm assuming is brass hardware. It's pretty solid, heavy hardware. Pretty decent for that. I've been using it for about a week now, and I have all my stuff in it. It's fairly sturdy. There's stuff being piled up on top of it. Every flat surface in this house, there's something got to be piled up on. But I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, it is cheap. It is particle board and laminate. You know, but for the price I paid, I'm real happy with what it does. And I'll show you inside. I'm back far enough to get the whole shot in, so I'll kind of show you the upper part here. It's mainly where I got everything. As you can see, and again, unlevel floors, so things are going to swing until I get it permanently mounted. This isn't where I'm going to keep it, but right now it's where I have room for it. It has plenty of room for hanging stuff. And my wife's actually down here. We put another rod for some of her other stuff she has to hang, because she mostly wanted to hang stuff. She only has like one of the shelves in, and I put 3 in. I put this is what I put my ties on here. It's one of those things you hang over your door, and you can hang stuff on, obviously. I had to bend it kind of up here so that it hooked to my door better, so this doesn't come with it, just something I did to get my ties. I definitely want to do something better with those another day. And I'll show you down below here. There's plenty of room for stuff. I got the shelves down here obviously, and one across there that I put my shoes and my hat on. Some of my nicer stuff, I haven't even figured out what to put in there yet. There's definitely room down there. That's a shoebox sideways, so you could put 2 or 3 shoebox sideways. There's one big shoebox there. It's full of other things, trinkets and stuff. So I think it would actually be nice to get the drawer system. There's a drawer system you can put down in this area, but like I said, I think they were like 30 bucks a drawer, and I just didn't want to. 3 big shelves and 3 little shelves. Obviously I didn't use them all. I could put more shelves in there. I haven't decided what I'm going to do. So but for right now, this seems to be working really well for me. It seems to be holding together fine. Yet again, I've only used it for a week. If I have any problems with it, I'll show you the different pluses and minuses later on down the road after I've used it for a while. But there's definitely plenty of room. More gratuitous dog and cat, actually this time, features. You saw the cat before, but who says cats and dogs can't get along? I talked about how back here these pieces have the particle board facing up instead of the finish side, and I couldn't figure out how in the world that happened. I figured it out now. What it is that the top and the bottom pieces are finished on both sides, so you can turn those either way. And what I wound up doing is actually flipping those around backwards, which ended up making the small cupboard on this side, the small space here on this side, and the larger space on this side. And it all works. It's working real well. And actually what we decided is was kind of a happy accident. So if you for some reason need your small place on this side and the bigger one on this side, because that's what you want, all you do is flip the top and the bottom around, and it works. Everything went together fine, and we decided we like it because at some point when we put these together in the same room, we're going to put them together, and we'll be able to have, you know, the 2 big pieces together and the 2 smaller ones on the outside, or we could have the 2 smaller ones on the inside and 2 bigger ones on the outside. So it'll just kind of, I think, kind of make it look better when it's closed, especially. Hopefully you can see this down here. This is where her blouses or dresses and things go. Blouses up here, longer dresses over here. She's got a shelf down there where she's got a few things. You know, this one is maybe a little low, so some things do kind of hit the bottom down there, but really, all in all, I'm really happy with these. These seem to be pretty nice. They work pretty well for as long as we've used them. Yeah, I'm in my son's room. My poor son had to share some space with his mom. We're in the midst of completely redoing our whole house. I'm trying to get myself kind of back upstairs where I don't have to go up and downstairs anymore. It's just getting too difficult. So right now we're kind of in the midst of finishing off the basement so that we can move a kid down there and move us back up here. Alright, well, this is Sam, Jack of all, Master of none. Y'all have a good one.